I gotta ask you something. What?
What are those? We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
What are those?
So kids can call them whenever they have questions.
I've got a question.
What are those?
What
are those? What are those? I got one question for you. I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? What are those?
Holla at him.
I got one question for you. What are those?
Converse, I really hate Converse.
What are those?
Do you like my new boots?
I got one question for you. What are those?
He was just a kid with a lot of questions. I have a question.
What are those?
Shoe game on point.
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? I got one question for you. What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? Officer, I got one question for you. What are those?
I mean, Dad, you really shouldn't have.
What are those?
This guy's so rich, he has a swimming pool in his swimming pool.
What are those?
Kelvin, I got a question for you. What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those? I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
10:30, I'm like,
what are those?
Adam, I understand you're tying your shoes and everything, but I gotta ask, what are those?
Chad, I got a question for you.
They're Vans. They're Vans.
Question.
What are those? What are those? I got one question for you. What are those?
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions for my report?
sure. What would you like to know?
What are those?
George, do you like my new shoes?
What are those?
I only got one question for you.
What are those?
Yo, Mike, you looking fresh as shit right now.
Thanks, Barney.
But I got one question for you.
What are those?
It's SpongeBob. Want to see my new shoes?
What are those?
Excuse me, sir.
I got one question for you. What are those?
Look, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? Good evening.
What are those? What are those?
It's SpongeBob.
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
I've got one question for you, Bree. What are those? What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those?
I actually have a question for you.
What are those?
Yo, D, man, what are those?
Mr. Krabs!
I got one question for you. What are those? I got one question for you. What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those?
Question for you. What are those?
I have a question.
What are those? What are those?
What the fuck are those?
Nobody. What are those? What are those? What are those? Nobody say.
I was running through the six.
What are those? What?
I've got just one question for you.
What are those?
Chocolate?
What are those?
Take it away, Penny!
What are those? Sir, I got one question for you. What are those? What?
Hey Brody, I got one question for you.
I got one question for you. What are those? What are the question for you? What are those?
Slim Jimmy.
Yeah. High by hater. I flood the club with paper.
One question for you.
What?
What are those?
I got one question for you.
What is it?
What are those?
Hey, SpongeBob, wanna see my new shoes?
What are those?
What are those?
Hey, Jonah.
Yeah.
What are those? Yo, you is really ugly. Oh no. Oh, what are you on your feet? What?
What's up, man?
Postmates, here's Chipotle.
Thanks, I just got one question for you.
What are those? What are those? What are those? What are those? What are those?
Icky, I got one question for you. What are those? Bitch.
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
I have one question. What are those? What are those?
Sounds like Scott. I don't know what's.
What are those?
Dorothy. I got one question for you. What are those?
Hey, SpongeBob, wanna see my new shoes?
What are those?
Austin, I got a question. What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those? Sir, I got one question for you. What are those? What?
I'm like, hey, what's up? Hello, Senor Ugly ass. Then I said, what are those?
What are those?
High heels!
Ballin', Smitty, got one question, bro.
What up?
What are those?
Alex. What are those?
I got a question for you. What are those?
Hey, SpongeBob, wanna see my new shoes?
What are those?
Stretch out.
Bro, what the fuck are those? Oh, bro.
Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
Just downtown. Any questions?
I got one question for you. What are those?
Yeah, I am wearing my most Japanese shoes.
What are those?
Are you competing for cutest kid right now?
Yes.
I got one question for you. What are those?
One question. What are those?
It's set to M for mini, when it should be set to W for
What are those? I got one question for you. What are those? Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? I got one question for you. What are those? Officer, I got one question for you. What are those?
Dills, I got a question for you.
What are those?
Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
And watch this, Mr. Krabs.
Can I take your order?
What are those?
Yeah, I'll take a picture, anything for my fans. What are those?
What
are those? Hi, Sarah.
I got one question for you. What are those? I got one question for you. What are those?
Yo, Mike, you looking fresh as shit right now.
Thanks, Barney.
But I got one question for you. What are those?
Hey, yo, Turtle, I got one question for you.
What are those?
Hey, Dad. I got one question for you. What are those?
Why would you do that?
To suck my balls.
Hey, Sammy, I got one question. What are those? What are those?
What are those? What are those?
What are those? I got one question for you.
Bro, what the fuck are those? Oh, bro.
I have one question for you. What are those?
Jules, I got a question for you. What are those?
One question for you. What are those? What are those?
Yo, dead Somali pirate. What are those?
What are those?
Hey, SpongeBob, wanna see my new shoes?
What are those?
Obama, I got one question for you.
What are those? What are those?
Dylan, I got one question for you.
What are those? I got one question for you. What are those?
Fuck off.
Officer, I got one question for you. What are those?
Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
Cooper, I just have one question for you. What are those?
Hey, SpongeBob,
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those? What are those? Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
I just have one question for you, kitty. What are those?
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions for my report?
Sure. What would you like to know?
What are those?
I got one question for you. What are those? Oh. Oh. Never mind.
Well, that's why you shoot game.
What are those?
Yo, Mike, you looking fresh as shit right now. Thanks, but I got one question for you.
What are those?
Yo, check this out. Guess it didn't work.
Later.
Officer, I got one question for you. What are those? What are
You know when you say that you pop your pussy, well, you mean when you pop your fish because, you know, you kind of, Wiener, I just have one question. What are those?
Dan, I have a question for you.
what is it, boy?
What are those?